Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. My name is Ibilate, and if you're just seeing me for the first time, this is my YouTube channel, The Purpose Queen. So here I talk about immigration. I talk about life as, well, should I say an immigrant? Well, yes, I am an immigrant, although I am closing to 1 year here in Canada, and I'm excited about that. So I talk about things like that, how to help you get started on your journey to travel, to transition into a remote job, all of that good stuff. Please do not make it the last time you see this face. Subscribe to my channel and like this video because you're going to love the information I'm about to share. Today I'm talking about the travel documents that you would need if you're about to immigrate into Canada. So if you're coming into Canada for the first time, like if you're applying to come to Canada, maybe as a permanent resident or as a student, whatever route you have decided to take, I'm sure before watching this particular video, you have decided that, okay, this is the country I want to move to, and you've decided on the particular route you're going to take. I mean, if you need help with that, you can watch some of my previous videos. But anyway, in this video, I will be sharing the travel documents you would need during your application phase and even prior to landing. So the first and the most important one is your travel documents, which is your passport, whatever country you might be watching this from. I mean, I'm Nigerian, so I came in from Nigeria, but we use a regular travel passport. You need your passport, and you need it to have more than 6 months. I believe more than 6 months before it expires. I would say go as far as a year or maybe even longer than that. Maybe apply for a new passport before you start this process, because you don't want anything to limit your chances of getting the visa. You don't want anything to limit your chances of being approved for study or even for permanent residence. So number 2 will be your identity or civil documents. Let's say you are married, you will need to provide your marriage certificate, or your birth certificate. If you have children, you need to provide their birth certificates, or if your spouse is deceased, then you can provide a death certificate. But things like that might be required of you. I really didn't need to submit any of those documents because I applied by myself, but all the same, it is always good to have those documents handy. If for some reason you don't have a birth certificate, you can use like a local government identification. But I'll say most importantly, try to get the birth certificate, or find out, because sometimes these documents get missing, but find out how you can get like a replacement or something that can stand in as like as a backup. For identification, you would also need maybe your voter's card. If you're in Nigeria, you know that I believe, well, every country would have their own version of voter's card, but in Nigeria it's called the PVC. You will need like a PVC or a driver's license. Actually, the driver's license is most important because it can help you apply to start driving immediately you get here. The PVC or the driver's license can be used as your form of IDs before you are given your actual ID here. So when you go to, let's say, apply for your health insurance and they ask for for a form of identification. I seem to be forgetting my words today, but anyway, when they ask for a form of identification, you can use your PVC or your driver's license. And like I said, with your driver's license, you can easily transition to getting a driver's license here in Canada. So number 3 is your education or training credentials. These will be needed before you apply. I mean, if you're coming in, let's say, for postgraduate study, or even if you want to apply for permanent residence, you definitely need these. On whatever previous education you've done before, let's say like your first degree, maybe a bachelor's, a degree program, whatever it may be, you will need the certificates. And if you're applying for permanent residence, then you need to change that document, or let me not necessarily call it change, but you need to go through an education credential assessment. That is why I was calling it a change, because you are not submitting the actual document, you are submitting that ECA. And the ECA is just a process to show that these documents that you have from before, it is equivalent to a Canadian one. So let's say you studied banking and finance in Nigeria. for your first degree, like you have a BA, you need to go through that ECA to prove that that's equates to the same kind of study here in Canada. So whatever it may be, even if you need the original certificate, even if you need an ECA, whatever form, just make sure that you have a form of education or training that you have gone past. Just make sure that you have something to prove it. So you also need your work experience documents, maybe like a CV, or more importantly, you need a letter from where you have worked, like previous companies. These are very important when applying for PR, because that document has to show your start and end date at said company. It has to show how much you were earning, yes, because they need you to be as transparent as possible, and they need to know what level you have gotten to, so that there are no should I say false I don't know, should I say any like false information? There are no false information or hidden information. So your start and end date, your duties at the company, the role and the position which you occupied, and your supervisor's signature has to be clear. The signature has to be boldly signed with their own details, like their contact details, the company address, all of that. If you had a training or you worked in a different country prior to where you are currently, like for me, I studied a bit in the United Kingdom, but I applied from Nigeria. So I needed to prove that I had school there. So I also needed the certificate from there. And I also needed to prove that I didn't have any issues with the government or with the police. So that is where you do a background check. So the same way you submit a police character document for the country which you are currently in, you also need to get one for any country that you have lived in from when you turn 18 or just as an adult generally, depending on how old you are. It will be stated after you have applied, when you are given an ITA. All of these will be stated, but I am making this video to let you know that you can start to gather some of these documents that have a longer period of expiry. For instance, your passports, since it is the first and most important one. So just in case there are still some questions, or maybe there are some things you are unsure about when you should get them, that is the reason why I am creating this video, and that's why I'm talking about it, so that you can begin to gather your documents and gather your processes and know what is needed for what is needed of you and how much it would cost. And speaking of cost, proof of funds is a very important one. Proof of funds is going to be required from the bank directly, although you are submitting it. But what I mean by from the bank, you can print out your bank statement, but the one that is required for this visa processes usually is from the bank, because it needs the manager's signature. It is very important to add that to show how legit it is. It should also show your current balance. Usually it is 6 months prior to the time you applied, which is what they ask for, so that they can see how your funds have been coming in and going out, to see if you have a good source of income. So to ensure that you can start, I have a video on proof of funds actually, so you can watch that to get full details. But to ensure, let me just give a little tip. You can start to gather the money 6 months before the time of application, which is also how you can start to gather these documents that I have spoken about. And finally, I'm going to talk about travel health insurance, because as much as people don't discuss this often, I feel like whenever you go on a trip, even if it's for tourism, it is important to take these, because you never can tell when you would fall sick, and your insurance in that new country might have not kicked in. Sometimes some people don't even have insurance in the country they are relocating to, which is why you should get a travel insurance from any there's so many companies that do this. For anyone that is recognized in that country you're going to, you can get one from there. You can get one online. It is very important, because there might be a need for it rather. Okay, so I've come to the end of this video, and if there is anything that is unclear, as usual, you can hit me up in the comment section. You know that you can send me emails. I've received from a few of you. I've received DMs as well, and I want to say I appreciate you reaching out to me with your questions. I try my best to answer as clearly and as honestly as I can. Please, when you're sending this, just go straight to the point. There is no need for pleasantries. I know where you're coming from. I know the idea behind the whole message. Thank you so much for watching this video. Do well to share, do well to like, so that you can see more of this type of premium content. You know that I will be sharing these nuggets every step of the way. I post weekly. Stick with me and I will see you in the next one. Bye.